Hey guys, welcome back. This is part 3 of our prop design series. So in this episode, I'm going to cover mostly 3D code, the modeling and texturing process. So without wasting any more time, let's get started. So in the previous video, I left off with these sketch layers on Blender. And so I spent some time and I added a little bit more detail. So this was the line art that I got from Blender. And then I made a new layer on top of it, just kind of like, adding more sketching lines and whatnot. I thought it'd be cool to have like a mud texture and like some rock texture, maybe some bricks of rocks carved in behind the mud. And then, the ground is going to be mostly gravel and stone for the most part. And just, cleaning things up, adding a little bit of line weight here and there, adding more details. The render itself was very like simple looking. So just wanted to like refine things up a little bit more. So this was the first one. And then this was the second one right here. The render that came out was very simple. And so I kind of took the time out to just, lay some more things out. These stoves will have a little bit of cracks on them, a little bit of wear and tear. And there's like a cloth hanging as well, so that when people are leaning in to put the bread in, they have something soft to lean against. And then the window as well. And I was thinking like the part where there's the windows carved in, that part is going to be like made of sand, a little bit soft. And then like the other part is going to be like made of stone, that kind of thing. And some more like bags of flour down here. Maybe I'll add like a couple trash cans and whatnot. And then I'll probably like hang some tools up here when I'm doing the final scene. So now I need to work on my final design of the bakery pretty much. I mean, last week we didn't even touch that last week, right? It was doing all this planning and layout. Week 1 I was doing these studies. And so I want to go for like this sort of texture where, like look at the reference image up here, like wherever there's an opening, it's like made of sand, which means it's softer in this area so people can like carve in and make windows and whatnot. And just to recall my sketches, I was going to go for this one right here, and the jewel structure pattern I was going to use for number 5. So number 3 and 5 is going to be the one. So we're going to go work on that now in 3D code. Now there's an option in 3D code where you can actually like go to their website and download more materials. So as long as you're paying for the subscription, you can find some cool assets that you can download. So in my case, I got a couple of these ground textures. This kind of looks like sand, and this is more like hard rock structure. So I'm going to use a combination of these two right here. And then I was going to make some like canopy as well, so I took like a material for cloth as well. Usually when you download it, it's 3D code automatically loads it up. So I'm going to show you how that looks like. So you click on the material, like for example this material, right? And then I'm going to click on download. And then I guess you get points. So I mean, it's just gonna detect your points. And then once it downloads up here, you don't really have to do much. When you open 3D code, a dialog box opens up asking you if you want to install these materials. So yeah, when I opened up 3D code, this window popped up automatically. It says, looks like you have some new 3DC packs downloaded, maybe new materials downloaded. Would you like to install them? So select the material and hit yes. And then it says it's installed and you gotta like reboot it. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to close 3D code and open it back up. Okay, so I've opened it back up now, and I'm going to select my file here. And I'm actually going to go check my materials to see if it's up here. Like for the ground textures, it made a separate folder. I wonder for the cloth where it's going to be right here. There you go. So now let's go ahead and start refining this guy up here, right? So we're going to go to our sculpt mode. So we decided that there won't be an opening for customers to enter into. It's going to be more like 2 windows up here. And the first thing that I'm going to do is that I'm going to stretch this out a little bit, because I remember I did that in Blender. I'm going to stretch this out a little bit more. Really like push that shape down there. I'm actually going to hide my layer where I have all the jewels, because I'm going to replace it with other stuff. Let me grab the cut tool. I'm just going to cut off some of this random stuff that's floating in the air. And then this cloth up here, I'm going to delete this for now because I don't need it anymore. And I actually made a new file with this because I felt like it'd be a lot more efficient instead of having all those 6 models here, because then my file just keeps getting bigger and then it's going to be slower. All right. And whenever you do any sort of stretching, it's always good to like right click on your layer and go to global space so that your wireframe gets a little bit better. All right, so I need to fill up this hole now. I think I'm just going to use the fill tool for that. I'm just going to like start doing this. Or I can also I can grab my 2D paint tool, and I'm just going to start like adding more clay up here. Looks like someone puked up here. Cut this out. If you hold down shift, you can like smoothen out. I like switching to the build tool when I'm smoothing. I just feel like it works better for some reason. So now I can come up here. Let me grab my move tool. I'm going to choose one of these textured brush. And 3D code comes with this. Just going to add that detail up here. Like a rough rock. If I hold on control, I can move some of this part, some of these inwards like that. Add some more variation. We decided that for the roof, for the jewels to sit upon, there needs to be some sort of like concavity. But yeah, I want to have like some sort of like an extrusion inwards where the jewels will be sitting on. I could use a boolean on this. So let's come up here, primitives. Let's grab an ellipse. Maybe, yeah, I think that's good. And then let's click on, it's on subtract, and then let's do apply. There you go. So we had some sort of like extrusion inwards. And this is where the jewels can nest up here. So let's exit out this tool. I'm gonna grab the move tool again. I'm gonna add like a little bit more. I'm gonna grab my build tool as well. And with this, I'm gonna smoothen out these sharp, oops. What did I do? Okay. I'm smoothing out these sharp edges with my build tool. This was gonna be my first pass on it, but then now I'm thinking of doing it something that's this way, in this direction. So to make it a little bit more interesting, I might copy some chunks and paste them up here. Grab the clone tool. Maybe I can just like grab this chunk, move it here, place it somewhere. See how that looks. Is it okay? And let's grab the build tool. Actually, I'm gonna grab the fill tool first. What the fill tool does, I don't even know. Whenever there are little cavities on your model, I feel like the fill tool tries to fill it up with more clay, more voxel, in a way where, you know, it blends in. These are just my assumptions from using the tool so much. It looks a little too flat. I'm gonna grab the move tool, just see if I can like raise it up a little bit. Thinking that this piece could be like a little shade above the window. I'm thinking when I do the jewels right, I could probably do something like this maybe. Well, I know for a fact we'll have some that'll be laid down like this. But if you want to exit out of the clone tool, you can always just select another tool and then it exits you out of the clone tool. Because sometimes it won't let you make another selection while you already have one already selected. Grab some of these guys and maybe I will rotate it like this. And maybe I'll just like copy the whole thing, save it first, Shift D, copy the whole layer, make it smaller, maybe stretch it out like that. I think I like the shape. I'm trying to like balance the big, medium, and small shapes with this. Maybe I can exaggerate it even more. This is what I like to call experimentation. I kind of like this little base kind of thing. So maybe I should like grab some of these. I'll probably end up changing them anyway or add like more in Blender. And I can always like copy them more and experiment more in Blender. Sand is going to be a lot more softer, so I should probably smoothen out some of these parts. I'm gonna try to make sure like my windows are roughly in this area right here. I think I'm just gonna go just cut through it, honestly. Cut all the way through, so I'm just gonna cover up the rest of it up here. Just gonna grab the sphere tool. There's like a lot of back and forth that happens when you're doing these sculpts. There's never really like, you know, like a streamlined process. Sometimes it is, sometimes not, it depends. Gone without a trace, yeah. Okay. This looks so weird, bro. Oh well. Now for the windows, I want to make sure there's like some sort of like more organic carving around it. Let's see, let's grab the build tool again. I can also use stencils up here actually. And see these cracks. Maybe I'll add some up here. If I release a tutorial on 3D Code and Blender for the absolute beginner, will you guys be interested in it? Let me know in the comments. And I lost my job this past week though. Kind of sucked, not gonna lie. On the bright side, I have more time to do this, so just enjoying my life right now. I've been working non-stop and studying non-stop for like the past 6 years. So for the first time ever, it kind of feels like that life has slowed down for me a little bit, which feels nice to some extent, because I felt like these past 3 years, ever since, well, 4 years at this point, I feel like life was just going by so fast. Just too busy doing stuff. When you're just like so immersed and busy doing stuff, man, time flies so fast. So I take a break from all this fucking society thing that I have to do, like working and shit. Wish I could just like draw and make money from it, not gonna lie. Let me shift to my brush tool and let's try painting this instead. Ooh, that looks better. Like around the window. Yeah, boy. This looks sick, dude. Now it's very important when I texture it, there needs to be some sort of element that'll differentiate all this. Let's click on this. I know there's like a subdivide option. It's been a while since I've used that option. Let's see if I can find it. And I can just subdivide on this area where I get more detail. Subdivide frozen area. Apply. Apply again, maybe it'll work. I wonder if I can use stencil on surface mode. Cannot. Definitely feels like a lot more detailed now. Let's do the wax height stuff now. Got some cracks up here. And then bring them back. If I hold on, so when I'm painting, it's like cutting through it, and if I hold on control and then paint back, it brings back some of it. Okay, I think this looks pretty good so far. So let's go ahead and I'm actually gonna see if I can put like a shade up here, like a cloth simulation. It's like a shade kind of like just hanging from here, like a canopy. Hanging from up here and like stretched down here. Go ahead and put this down here. So that when I do the cloth simulation, there's like, you know, cloth that falls on it. So we got that. Let's try a cloth simulation right here. Let's do a default cloth, scale it up a little bit. Okay, so I'm thinking, see how this looks like. Start. I think it's too small. I think I need something a little bit more bigger. Or you know what, maybe it does work, hold on. This is so much fun. Is this what Marvelous Designer feels like? Okay, let's end simulation and create. Actually, let me subdivide this a little bit. It's a little bit more smooth. Okay, let's do create cloth object. Okay, this is looking good. Maybe I can put another one on this side here. Oh, I could have totally done something like this, like stretched it out all the way. Stretch it out. Oh shit, I could have, that's what I wanted to do initially, bro. Cool. This totally works. I'm just gonna duplicate this on this side to see how that looks. So if you want to like copy paste like something, what you can do is turn on your symmetry, choose the axis. I think it's gonna be the Z axis for us right now. And then so it's gonna give you like, it's gonna calculate on its own and predict where the line of symmetry should be, but you can change that also. You can click on pick and kind of click wherever you want that axis to be on. Okay, and then you hit Alt X. There you go. Yep, this looks a lot better. Yep, that's what I wanted to do earlier. And I wonder if I can put another cloth on top, hanging from the top up here. Nice, you got a little shade for people who are waiting in line to get their bread. Let's get this bread. I wanted to add some chairs that were like made out of rocks. There's a weird shadow thing happening here. Let's see if I can like... I think we can go ahead and start texturing now. I need all of this. Let's right click. Let's do to global space. Also, before you retopo, you also want to make sure your symmetry is turned off on all your layers. For the retopoing process, you have to kind of like experiment and see how low can you go. Let's go back to sculpt. Let's right click. So I'm gonna go half the number now. I'm gonna try 200,000, see how that looks. The goal is to get eventually to a point where it's the lowest amount with the highest detail. Or to the point where it doesn't deform my geometry a lot. You know what I mean? Oh, shit. Let's try 237, see what that looks like. Okay, so I feel like now with 200,000, it's like deforming my sculpt a lot, like areas like these problem areas. So I'll probably have to go higher. Okay, so let's go, let's go a little bit higher. 336. Okay, I'm just gonna stick with this for now. Whoops, what the hell? Now I need to calculate my occlusion, curvature, and then bake my normal mass, which is gonna take a really long time. I'm just gonna have to hope that it doesn't take that long. Let's see. Let's go to bake. It's a bake normal map. It's gonna hit OK. And the normal map is gonna like preserve all the detail. Change it to 4K Blender. Okay. Occlusion and curvature. I forgot. There we go. Calculate occlusion. Okay. All right. So I deleted those layers and then I added these two layers up here. So you make a new layer. I forgot to record that part. Sorry. And then you want to right click on your material and do attach to current layer. And then once you do that, you can pull this preview and kind of like see the preview and see what it looks like. Okay, so I feel like I wasn't able to texture and screen record at the same time. It was getting a little bit too heavy on my computer because I have a pretty shitty, outdated computer. So I'm just gonna walk you guys through the process. It was actually not that difficult. It's really very simple. So the first layer up here, now I downloaded some extra models. No, I've downloaded some extra materials from the website as I showed you guys earlier in the video. So I used these two materials for the sand and this one's for like the rock. And so the first layer up here is just like a base layer of just all of the sand up here. You know, it's always good to have like a base texture at first. Initially it looked like this, and once you have your material selected, it's always a good practice to right click on it and then you do attach to current layer, and then it gets attached to your layer up here, and then you can right click on it and then go to smart material editor, and then from here you can like, you know, add some more edits to your texture. The one that I mostly do is this one, the depth one. By default it's at 100% scale, and if it's like 100% you don't get enough detail, so go ahead and pull it down to 10%. Then you also get a smart material preview that you can like preview your texture. So that's the main thing that I usually do. When it's 100%, it's like, you know, there isn't much. When you bring it down, there's more detail. So I put this base texture at first, so I'll save that. Now the reason why I attach the material to the layer first is because if you don't do that, and if you go directly to up here to smart material editor and you make any edits, it changes the properties of your default material. So you don't want that. Okay, so the next one that I did, I used the raw ground texture, and to get this, I wanted to make sure that I only had this on the crevices up here. And so up here on this corner, you know how it says always? You can like change it to like different options, like more on concave, more on convex, and you can get some really cool variations, really cool results when you do that. So that's what I did, put it on Smart Material Preview, more on convex, more on concave, and I just played around with it. I think I had it on less on convex. That gave me this result. I think it was more on it was more on concave that I did it. And then you can come up here, grab the fill bucket tool, and if it's set to brush, once you click on it, it'll just fill up the whole model. And then I made a copy of that same material, and this time I wanted it to be like in more parts, you know, like have it evenly distributed. Honestly, I could have like just not used this at this point, but yeah, I don't really need this at this point because I feel like I ended up using this one on more on convex. Hold on, let me see. Yeah, I ended up using this material more on convex. Yeah, it's more on concave. That's what I ended up using it. So there was that, and then this up here was the same sand material that I duplicated and put it on top of everything, and I changed the blend mode to color dodge. Here you can change the blend mode, and because of that, I was able to get some like brighter, brighter spot. And then the next layer up here, I had a layer where I just painted some blue color for the jewel and added some of it up here around the windows and a little bit of texture up here, like to show that maybe some of this material is being carved inside this rock up here. And it was set on overlay, and I got a pretty cool result with that. And then above all of that, I had a dirt layer just to add some extra dirt. And once again, when I was adding the dirt up here on this layer, it's set on more on concave, so it's always good to like preview your material and change your properties up here. So there's that. And then I added a layer on top of this up here, and this was set to color burn. I just wanted to add more variations of the color blue up here, and wanted to make like real nice and shiny, like shiny stone, like a geode crystal of some sort. And the real layer 17 was set to color dodge, and I just like painted the same blue color on on the top part. Now remember, I did have like some tarp, some canopy. I was thinking of just like texturing that in Blender, because when I was retopoing it, I forgot to select that layer, and then I thought I could go back and retopo it separately, but then when I did that, it like cleared out all my textures and everything, and I did not want to like redo the whole thing. But at this point, we can take it to Blender and then like just put everything together and see what it looks like. And to export everything out, what you can do, just go to up here, export objects and textures. It's gonna say export geometry up here. First, you wanna make sure you change from your presets to Blender cycles. And then here it's gonna tell you like which mapping nodes do you need. So we've got diffuse, metalness, roughness, normal map, displacement, emissive. I'm just gonna get rid of displacement because I don't use displacement. I don't usually use emissive as well, but I'm gonna keep it because I feel like with emissive I can get like some good lighting on these guys right here. And then output mesh is gonna ask you which folder you want to save your meshes on, and then for path for textures is gonna ask you where you want to save your texture maps. So once you click on these two, it'll open up like a file browser and you can just save it. Now the one thing that I'm also gonna do though, when you import your model, it comes with these materials, but I'm actually gonna remove them and then put them in one more time, is because when you do your render passes in Eevee, it won't detect the model, and I've had that happen in the past and don't want that happening again. So I'm gonna go up here and just like remove all the materials first. Now except the tarp, I'm gonna select everything else. Then I'm gonna hit Ctrl J and make that one object. Okay. And then we'll go up here, create a new material, and let's go ahead and drop in all those texture maps. Also, I feel like this looks a lot better. When it came in with the default materials, they were way too shiny for some reason. So this actually looks better. And now that it's all textured and ready to go, what I can do is if I want to separate them out, press tab, press A, select everything, then P by loose parts. So now we can like move these around independently if you want to. The cool thing is that if you have a 3D Code subscription, you can actually use the materials that are built in side of 3D Code and use them in Blender as well. Pretty neat. And they're usually under documents, 3D Code, user pref, smart materials, and then you can find it. So I went ahead and built out a simple scene for this exterior shot. So let me kind of walk you guys through what I did. So pretty much this stone up here, thought it'd be cool to show that all this tarp up here is being held down by the stone. So I put one here on each corner like that. And then had some rope coming through as well. So the way I made my rope is that I used a Bezier curve, and you can do that by doing curve, Bezier curve. All right, and then hit tab, select A, X, and delete all your vertices. And then you can like draw a curve of some sort. And then you can like even adjust this curve, you know, if you come up here, select parts of it, you rotate it, you know, lift it up, whatever, right? And then to add thickness to this guy, you go up here to this button where it says data, and where it says depth, just increase that to maybe 0.1, or just play around with that size, you know, 0.05, maybe, you know, something like that. So that's what I did for those ropes. And then kind of like just had them come across here. And there's one coming through here, and oh my god, that tree is going through this tarp. I should probably push it forward. So that's what I did for that part. And then for the stepstones, I created that in the previous video. I just copy pasted most of it and just had like a pathway leading through here. And these trees, I got them from this botanic add-on. And then for the stuff on the back, I straight up just took this piece and just hit Alt D, took an instance of it and put it up here. If you take an instance, it doesn't affect your poly count, so I highly recommend doing that if you want to just have like some stuff in the background. I just wanted something to just, you know, be there. And then I had a volumetric fog up here. So here's what my render looks like right now. Cool. And for my lighting, I'm using a sun with a black body node on it. So let's see, shader editor. And at first I was using an HDRI, but then I was getting better results with just a sun and a black body node. So I just used that. And the fog up here, I want to show you guys something. So the fog, it's actually a cube, right? One of those, you know, those regular cube fogs. But I used a noise node on it. What that's doing is that it's creating like a noise pattern. And then I can adjust areas that I want, areas of the fog that I want to show and that I want to hide with it. So essentially, if you look at my noise texture, it's something like this. And then the color ramp up here is kind of like creating this contrast. So the black stuff is going to be hidden and the white stuff is going to be like shown. And so this is what we end up getting. And I feel like this was a really cool way to just get some variation. So yeah, so this was the render for the most part. After working through all of this, I went ahead and submitted my work for feedback. And honestly, I got some really good feedback. I was like, yes, finally. Now, the thing that's happening is that I have too many shots planned out, and that's something that I end up doing with a lot of my projects, where I'll make a 3D scene and then I'll start like just laying out everything. Then I'll make a camera, have a camera be in these certain areas. So the next thing that we were trying to figure out is that how can we optimize this project, right? If you guys remember, I had 2 line drawings that I did for my interior shot, and then I had this one exterior shot that I was working on right now. The feedback that I got was, how about we take these 2 interior shots and kind of make it in such a way where we can put some elements from both of these 2 interior environments into one environment and just kind of show the story that's happening. So let's look at this image as an example, right? Like this is like a bakery, and there are a couple stories that are happening up here. The first one is this guy up here. This is our main focal point, the main focus, and he's making pretzels. And there's a dude in the back who's, you know, maybe putting some dough together or something. And then we got a machine up here, you know, it's probably used to like, you know, mix the dough, whatever. Then we got some pots up here, and then we got all this stuff here in the foreground. So that's like story number 1, 2, 3, 4. So, you know, like there's like a main story, then there are like, you know, 3 more minor stories in this shot. So using that same idea, so in my case, we thought, how about we brought the camera, instead of being like the CCTV footage, bring it down up here so that it captures like this moment up here, this dude bringing the bread to this guy prepping the bread up here, and this dude is selling it. So that was like the next step for me to figure out. So which means what I'm gonna have to do is that pretty much, and then we also decided that we could probably just get rid of these 2 stoves and put those mixers up here from the other interior shot. And so the next step is gonna be pretty much me consolidating everything into one image, texturing it, rendering it. And honestly, at this point, I feel like, you know, earlier I said that I'll probably use 3D code to model out these stoves, but if only this much of it is gonna be shown, I don't think it's like worth my time going through the struggle of like going to 3D code, export, import, paint, and all that crap. I might just use the texture from Cooksil Mega Scans for it. So yeah, so that's what we'll be working on the next episode, on the next video. So it's gonna be focused more on scene building, interior design, and also I'll see if I have enough time for paint over. If not, I'll make a separate video for that. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks for coming by. I'll see you guys in the next one.